So, hello everyone, and welcome to one of ChildLine's webinars, which is titled Viral Staying Safe While Staying Relevant on Social Media, addressing dangers and risk of social media. This presentation is going to be targeting parents, guardians, teachers, or interested adults um, so, without further ado, let's jump straight into the content. My name is Aaron George, and I am one of ChildLine's outreach officers. So, just a quick overview of today's webinar. We are going to be raising awareness of ChildLine's child protection and well-being services. We're going to identify personal details that Facebook may ask users to share after joining the platform. We will also review settings that can be adjusted to protect children from inappropriate profiles, pages, or sites. And we will also introduce participants to the social media platform of TikTok. We will identify personal details that TikTok would ask users to share after joining the platform. We will identify behaviors and emotions that persons may experience as they continue to cope with COVID-19 restrictions and stressors, with a focus on social media as a tool for coping. And we're also going to discuss why and how social media is able to capture the attention of children and youths. So, a quick promotion of ChildLine services. We have three main services that operate complementary to each other. We have the helpline, which is available 24/7. It is free, it is confidential, and we encourage persons to call 800-4321 should they require more information. The second part of ChildLine is the outreach unit, which is where officers like myself, we facilitate workshops on psychosocial issues, also free of charge. And also, we have a counseling unit where telecounseling or in-person counseling is available. This is hosted by trained professionals, and of course, you can request these sessions through the My Childline app or through our website, which is childlinett.org. So, in a nutshell, ways that you can get in contact with us through the helpline 800-4321 or 131. You can use the My Childline app straight from your Google Play Store or on the Apple platform. It is free to download. You also have the web chat feature. So if you feel uncomfortable calling, you have the option of messaging, and this could also be accessed through our website, childlinett.org, or through the My Childline app. You can also send emails to childline@gmail.com, or you can stay connected with us on our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also YouTube. Now, in this day and age, children and youths have been born and raised in a digital era. There is a generational gap that also seems to exist. And with this generational gap comes a shift in perspective, in values, and in morals. So things that you may find, let's say, parents nowadays who may be in their 40s or in their 50s, the values and the morals that they may hold close to them may differ from those of persons who are in Generation Z, which would be persons who are born after 1996. Now, being active on social media almost becomes a prerequisite for being a young person. And we always have to keep this in mind because at the end of the day, it is very unlikely that social media will lose its appeal as time goes by. But as parents, as adults, as persons interested in child protection, we always need to stay abreast of what's happening with our children and our youths so that we know how we can better protect and serve them. Now, I'm going to ask you if you are familiar with these terms, and I will make mention of it, and I want you to see if you know any of them. If at any point you can pause the video after I've read each statement to give yourself some time to think about a response or to think about if you know what it means. So, how could you out the girl like that? What does that mean? It means that you disclosed private information that the girl asked you to keep private. Yes, so outing is a form of sharing information that you were not supposed to share. Don't deal with that girl, her wang pang. So, Don't deal with that girl could mean two things. One, don't have any interaction with that girl, or do not get into a relationship with that girl, because dealing is a word that they use to refer to relationships. And how Wang Peng. Wang refers to the female reproductive organs, so the vagina, and Peng refers to something that is not in the best condition, or something that is mashed up, or something that has been destroyed. So this statement basically means do not have any interactions with that girl because her female genital s- seems to have been damaged or something of the sort. Yes, to put it lightly. Something had to be wrong with him. He only salt in the wang. So what this means is that for whatever reason, the boy is being offered sex by a female. However, he's refusing to have sex with her, which means that he is salting the wang. You always on your phone. Clearly, you have FOMO. What does FOMO mean? It means fear of missing out. I'm blemious. What does that mean? It means that you are high, and usually it's on marijuana. IYKYK. What does that mean? It means if you know, you know. Now, it's important to know the terms that young people use nowadays, because as a parent, as a guardian, you want to protect them. But if they are planning, let's say, a robbery, or they're planning to engage in some form of cyberbullying or something of this sort, they may be having this conversation literally right in front of you, but you may not be aware of the jargon and the terms that they're using. And because of this, you just brush it off as the parent, thinking, okay, well, young people talking about young people things. But again, we have to find a way to know these terms, get familiar with these terms, so that we can protect them and that we can at least be in tune with what's going on. So they think that we may be oblivious completely to what may be happening, when in reality, you would actually know. So it's important, and there are many more terms, but the only way for us to get familiar with these terms would be for us to um, have conversations with them, engage with them, find out what they're doing, find out what they're thinking, find out the terms that are being used. And for the adults, you can also take a look at Urban Dictionary. It is a bit graphic. However, I must admit that sometimes content that is discussed by young people can be quite graphic as well. So it is better to know than to not know. Now, these symbols, similarly, just as they can use words and have conversations right in front of you without you knowing, sometimes simply because of a symbol, a child will know exactly what it means. So, what does this symbol mean? TikTok, very good. What about this one? Snapchat, very well. And the third, Pinterest, very good. Now, these are three easy ones. What about this one? And this one is usually a little more difficult, but it's similar to a messaging platform. The name of it is called Bottom. Then there's another, and this one is called Viber. It's similar to WhatsApp in the sense that it allows you to share photos. You can make free calls on the app to persons who also have the app, but you must have data, of course. You could do video chats, you could send messages, you could send photos, and so on. And then this other one on the top in the middle here. So it looks very similar to WhatsApp and also Messenger, but it is actually iMessenger, which is a specific feature of iPhones. Yes? So again, just reinforcing the point that it's important for us as adults to know what the young people are doing, what platforms they are on, because if they think that we are not able to be on these platforms with them, they get this false sense of security that mommy and daddy or granny or grandpa is not going to know what I am doing online, because quite frankly, they're not on the platform and they're oblivious completely to everything that happens on it. So To begin today's presentation, in terms of introductions to the platforms, we will take a look at Facebook. Facebook was launched in 2004 by Mark Zuckerberg and his college roommates. By 2006, anyone who was at least 13 years old with a valid email address could have joined Facebook. There are approximately 1.49 billion daily active users, with 47% of Facebook users only accessing the platform through their mobile devices. 83% of parents on Facebook are allegedly friends with their children, and Facebook adds 500,000 new users every day, which approximates to 6 new profiles every second. And worldwide, you have 26.3% of the online population using Facebook, which are tremendous statistics as it relates to Facebook use. Now, why is this platform so popular? One, it is also very easy to create an account. All you have to do is go to facebook.com and click create a new account. You're going to have to enter your name, your email address, and your mobile phone number with a password and your date of birth and gender. You click sign up, and to finish creating your account, all you need to do is confirm your email or your phone number. So you can see here the sign up is very quick and it is easy, and Facebook requires you to be at least 13 years old. Creating an account with false information is a violation of Facebook's terms, and this includes creating an account on behalf of someone who is under 13 years. So when you move and you create the account, you will now be welcome to your profile. And your profile helps your friends learn about the people, experiences, and activities that matter to you most. But what you can see here is that some of these fields can be quite invasive because Facebook wants to know a lot about you, or at least it provides an opportunity for you to share a lot about yourself. So it will ask you your birth date. It will ask you where you work at your school. They want you to provide edits to your profile, music, books, movies, TV shows, games. They want your mobile phone number. They want you to add a screen name. They want you to add your address. They want to know your best friends, your co-workers, your classmates. And it continues. If you go into the overview section, you will see they ask you about your relationship status. And all of these fields here, from work and education, places live, contact and basic info, all will have fields for you to fill in, and it will allow other people to view this content that you share. If you take a look at contact and basic info, you see it asks you for the languages that you speak, your political views. They want to know who you are interested in. And of course, many, many more. Now, as you can see, Facebook welcomes all of your personal information. And what can happen is that children can innocently put themselves at risk when they input personal information into the fields that are available. You see, a child will look at this as a form. They're now entering a new platform because they're unfamiliar with it. They're entering this space, and then this space is asking them to provide certain bits of information. Quite likely, the child is going to provide that information. And of course, that can have other effects that can spin off. So, one popular challenge that youth will face is cyberbullying. Now, cyberbullying really refers to online conflicts. However, sometimes these things happen in the real world and then they get transferred to the virtual world. Uh, it is perpetuated by the fact or the idea that cyberbullies think that if they engage in cyberbullying, they are going to remain anonymous. It gives the cyberbully a false idea that their actions have no repercussions. And now that more and more children have cell phones, cyberbullying often takes place through texting and picture messaging as well. So, technically, what is cyberbullying? It is bullying with the use of digital technologies. It can take place on social media, messaging platforms, gaming platforms, and on mobile phones. And essentially, it is repeated behavior that is aimed at scaring, angering, or shaming those who are targeted. So, some examples of cyberbullying include spreading lies or posting embarrassing photos of someone on the platform, sending hurtful messages or threats, impersonating someone, and face-to-face bullying and cyberbullying can often happen alongside each other. So it's not to say that if somebody is being physically bullied in the real world, that they're never going to be cyberbullied, or if someone is experiencing cyberbullying, that they will never be bullied in the real world. Sometimes they happen alongside each other. But the difference is that cyberbullying leaves a digital footprint, which is essentially a record that can prove useful and it can provide evidence to help stop the abuse that the person is experiencing. Now, there are several cyberbullying tactics that are used. Not all bullying takes place in the same way. So we're going to discuss 9 of these tactics. The first tactic is called flaming, and this is basically an online fight using electronic messages, and you share your messages with a very angry or vulgar tone or a vulgar language. So it's a one directional form of harassment, so to speak. Harassment, however, is repeatedly sending nasty, mean, or insulting messages. So in flaming, it may be a one-off situation. With harassment, it is repeatedly happening. Then you also have denigration, which is dissing someone online or sending or posting rumors or gossip about that person with specific intent to damage the person's reputation or their friendships. We also have impersonation, which is pretending to be someone else and sending or posting material to get that person in trouble or danger or to damage that person's reputations or friendship. So impersonation is where the person is pretending to be you. So flaming, again, is a one-off kind of me sending you an angry message. Harassment is me repeatedly sending you these messages. Denigration is repeatedly sending these messages with the intent to damage your reputation. And impersonation, on the other end, is where I pretend to be you and I damage or hurt other people, pretending to be you. We also have phishing, and this is the fraudulent attempt to obtain sensitive information or data, such as usernames, passwords, or even credit card details, by impersonating oneself as a trustworthy entity in a digital communication. So basically, to break that down, let's say someone pretends that they're working at a bank in Trinidad and Tobago, and they start dialing random numbers in the phone book saying, "Hi, good day, I'm a representative of X, Y, and Z Bank, and we are currently doing an update to our profile, or we are now doing upgrades to our system," or something of the sort. And they would say, "In order for us to apply the upgrade to your account, we need you to provide us with your credit card information, your password, and so on." Now, many people will know that the bank does not conduct business like that by calling you to ask for personal information. However, some people are unaware and they may volunteer that information thinking that it is going to help them with the situations that they um, think that they are in terms of the account and it not being up to date and so on. So they offer the information and then they are basically swindled out of vital information and money. Then we continue. You have outing, and I use this example in the terms in that little pre-quiz, so to speak. An outing is basically sharing someone's secrets or embarrassing information or images online. Trickery is talking someone into revealing secrets or embarrassing information, and then you share it online. So, for example, I say, "Let's exchange photos of our body parts," or something like that, and then one child says to the other child, "You send yours first and then I will send mine." So the child sent it, and when the child sends it, the other child screenshots it and posts the photo on the internet. So that's trickery. Exclusion is when you intentionally and you cruelly exclude someone from an online group. And you also have cyber stalking, which is the repeated intense harassment and denigration that includes threats or creates significant fear. So basically, the person is following you online in the virtual spaces and so on. And these are all things that can happen on Facebook. I've personally seen them happen and I've also experienced it as well. But the thing is that there are some consequences or legal ways to deal with such a situation. Cyberbullying is not to be handled lightly and it can quickly become a serious problem. There have been many cases where cyberbullying has resulted in victims fearing for their lives and even committing suicide. But there are specific actions that can actually cause a bully to break civil and criminal laws. And highlighted now, we're going to take a look at some of the offenses that persons may commit if they engage in cyberbullying, as outlined in the legislation which is titled Offenses Against the Persons Act. So the first one is defamation of character. And this is basically where someone publishes a false statement about a person that can damage his or her reputation. So for example, if you're a doctor and someone randomly decides to post on Facebook or one of the social media platforms that you usually perform surgeries while you are under the influence of alcohol and many other drugs. Of course, whether it is true or whether it is not, this can essentially dirty that doctor's waters, or it can get them into trouble where their name is now going to be put into the state of disrepute. You also have invasion of privacy or the public disclosure of a private fact. Invasion of privacy refers to someone going into your belongings or invading a space that is not supposed to be theirs and it belongs to you. There are two types of invasions of privacy, and you will see the second one on the other slide. But for the first one, it is referring to a public disclosure of a private fact. And this is basically where you have private information that is true. Someone finds out that information and then they share it in a public space. So, for example, they let's say someone went into your bag and they saw that you had medical records in there, and on the records it indicated that you had cancer or that you were diabetic or that you have HIV or whatever the case may be, and the person goes and they post this online. That is a public disclosure of a private fact because it is true based on your medical records. It's just that it was now shared in the public domain. Then you have invasion of privacy, but in a false light. So let's say the person goes into your bag similarly and they saw that you do, in fact, have some sort of medical record or a document from a hospital. They didn't look through the document, but they lied and stated that the document said that you had HIV when in fact it was simply a form that you had for a job application or something of the sort. So now it is in a false light. So they invaded your privacy and then they lied about you on top of that. Then you also have the intentional infliction of emotional distress. So this is where someone's actions are outrageous and they're intolerable and they have caused extreme distress. So in this case, let's say someone is messaging you saying, "Here, this one, I'm gonna come and bring down your house later," or something of the sort. It can instill a lot of fear in the person who is hearing it, and it could, of course, result in emotional distress. So as a result of that, the person who is perpetrating this act might even make the family move out of their home because of fear. And this, of course, can be an offense. It is an offense. Now, all in all, even though Facebook is one of the most popular platforms present at this time, Generation Z, which would be persons who are born after 1996, they appear mostly indifferent to Facebook. But they cannot escape the social network. It's their parents who are doing most of the posting on this particular platform. And when you think of many child spaces, what you would find is that a child who knows that their parent is on these platforms or in these rooms would usually want to leave this platform and be in a space where they are predominantly children or persons of their peer group or their peer age. Why? Think about it. Let's say there's a party and at school, a school bazaar or school jump up, and your parents decide that you're coming. That child is probably going to feel embarrassed because the child is going to be teased by other students, or they may just feel like if their parents are watching them constantly, so they can't, quote unquote, enjoy themselves the way that they would like to. However, what we must be mindful of is that because of the presence of adults on these platforms and many other reasons, of course, young people are going to migrate to other platforms. But it does not mean that they are unaware of what they can do on Facebook. Facebook is recently being used as platform for promoting small businesses or creating ideas for selling household items or creating groups, business groups, focus groups, conducting research, and so on. So the way that we use the social media platforms nowadays is very, very different. So the question that you may be asking yourself is, how do you prevent your personal information from being used to manipulate or humiliate you on social media? Now, there are different actions that a person can take essentially, and some of these actions are specifically blocking your profiles. You can unfriend persons, you can delete, you can report, and we're going to talk about a few of these features. Yes? So, first things first is blocking friends. When you block someone, they will not be able to see things that you post on your profile. They cannot tag you in posts, comments, or photos. They cannot invite you to events or groups. They cannot start a conversation with you, and they cannot add you as a friend. If you block someone that you're friends with, Facebook will automatically unfriend them. So that is one of the features. Essentially, when you block someone, it's like they fall off the face of the virtual earth. They no longer will be existing. Now, there are different ways that you can go about doing it. You can either click this little help center or this question mark on the top right hand side of your screen, and you scroll down until you see privacy shortcuts. Once you click privacy shortcuts, it will take you to this pop-up window where you go and you click block users, and Facebook is very descriptive. So it gives you a nice little explanation that you can read about, and that will help guide how you protect yourself and your information. So you click block users, and once you enter the person's name or their email address and you click block, the person will now be added to your blocked list. There are many other ways to go about blocking your profile as well. You have the option of clicking these three horizontal lines and going down to settings and privacy. Once you go into settings and privacy, this interface is going to pop up and you will see 5 different options. You click the blocking option since that's what we're discussing, and the blocking interface is going to pop up. So, and it gives you a description. Once you've blocked someone, that person can no longer see things you post on your timeline, tag you, invite you to events or groups, start a conversation with you, or add you as a friend. This doesn't include apps, games, or groups that you both participate in. So you see, you know exactly what you're doing or what effect the action that you're going to take is going to have. Yes? Now, you also have the option of blocking pages because profiles are not always the challenge that you experience. And to block a page, you go to the page that you want to block, you click below the page's cover photo, and you select block page. Once you click confirm, that's going to be it. The page is now going to be removed from your interface, and you're not going to be able to see that content unless you unblock the page or the profile. Again, going into more settings and general features, Facebook is very descriptive, so you can have a read and see how you can create a restricted list, see how you can block users, see how you can block messages, see how you can block app invitations, and so on. And there's so much more that you can do on this platform as well. Now, unfriending persons. How do you unfriend or remove a friend from Facebook? First, you have to go to the person's profile by typing in their name into the search bar at the top. Click at the top of their profile and you select unfriend, then you confirm. And once you do that, it brings you to their page, which is now going to be removed. And once they have been removed as a friend, yes, they're still going to be able to see you and post on your wall, possibly, and so on. But again, there are other features or other settings that you can review in the settings tab to help manage these things. For example, there are settings where you can screen anyone or any post that someone tries to put on your wall. Because nowadays, with the great reliance on social media and technology, many employers, many universities, many people on the whole are looking at a person's profile as a way to judge them in terms of their character, who they are, what they may be interested in, and they draw conclusions about the type of persons you are based on your profile and the things that you post and the things that your friends post. So always be mindful of these settings.